2 p.m. Okay, thank you. It being 2 p.m. on Thursday, March 30th, let's begin today's Ways and Means meeting. And Clerk Semino, if you'd please give us a roll call.
Counselor Reynolds,
Here?
Counselor Flaherty,
Here.
Counselor Maglio,
Here.
all present.
Terrific, thank you. And I want to welcome everybody who's here on the call with us today, and I appreciate everybody's attendance. And so from an agenda standpoint, we do not have anything from an approval of minutes nor any old business. And taking up new business, that was our new business is still order 23012. And do we have a motion to take off the table order 23012?
Motion to take off the table order 03, what is the number?
23012.
23012.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and it's seconded, and a roll call, please.
Counselor Reynolds,
Aye.
Counselor Flaherty,
Aye.
Counselor Maglio,
aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much. Okay. And we have had, we saw the updated memo, and thank you for that, Director Spellman. And so we're here to talk about the DPW's request for supplement. And I'll now ask the let's see, either Director Spellman or Director Arsenault. Ed, I'll leave it to you to open the table.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe what you have left to review this afternoon. Motions 1 dealing with school facilities, and then motion 2 Public Works Department. And the school facilities request has been done by the DPW, and if it's all right with you, I'll turn it over to Jim Arsenault and let him, I don't know if he's got an overview, or
Sure.
you want to just get right to the questions?
Okay, so the chair recognizes Director Arsenault.
So the position, the 2 items that we have on listed there, one is for the school facilities, and which I think everybody here, I believe, is aware that the schools have merged with the DPW as far as maintenance of the buildings and grounds and things like that. So that change has that's kind of the base reason for the increases, because there was a lot of items that we needed to have to get to function properly from the DPW, from the school / DPW side of things. As far as DPW itself, the items there are a mixture of school related items and also DPW items themselves from the actual DPW department. Some of the reasons for some of the increases in general, I'll say on the town side, is more that the vehicles we have are getting older, they're breaking down more. We also have fuel, prices have gone up for a lot of the elements of things that we've been using. And so that's kind of the overall reasoning for it. And I have Ben Halcare, who can speak in a lot more detail, and Mike McGurty as well, and they can give you a lot more clarity. I'll leave it to, I guess we'll start off with Ben, if you want to speak a little bit, Ben, and tell him what you think your changes are.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Ben, and the chair recognizes Assistant Director.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Good afternoon. So yeah, we're just, we do our best every year. We plan on, we expect, needing to have repairs, breakdowns, etc. But kind of without fail, unfortunately, you have the out of the ordinary kind of repairs. We've had several issues, a lot of issues with the diesel exhaust fluid. in our newer vehicles, actually. So some of our newest vehicles are actually costing us some of the most money. Companies countrywide are having issues with them through the government, and it's extra fluid that burns off in the exhaust to make it burn hotter and basically less pollution into the air on the diesel vehicles. They've been rolling out the project program for a number of years now, and it is it's always evolving, but any new diesel vehicle has these DEF, diesel exhaust fluid, these DEF filters and after cleaner filters. There's extra coolers on the vehicles themselves, like a radiator, like a just due to the fact that they run the engines hotter and all kinds of other they burn off after you burn the fuel in the engine for power, for movement. It then reburns any of the exhaust on its way out the stack to have cleaner product leaving. So we had our 2016 Peterbilt roll-off truck, frontline vehicle, large 10-wheeler, used it in the wintertime, obviously, with a sander, plow, etc. And it does weekly duty with the helping out the recycling center, moving containers and hauling away cardboard and everything to offsite disposal. That was in the shop for a number of weeks, very expensive. All told, we spent about $40,000 in repairs on that we had not expected. We had another vehicle that's also a daily driver dump truck. And especially in the wintertime with all the sanders and everything, with everything prepped for winter, our vehicles become limited for non-snow fighting use. That was out for just under $10,000. It throws an engine code and you regenerate it, and then the filters get clogged. And we're working on getting a better program and just even swapping these filters out prior to end of useful life, because they're just not lasting the way they should. And one issue kind of tends to snowball, and we get expensive repairs. We had a couple of engine jobs, engine rebuilds, unfortunately, this year to try to keep some of the aging fleet going. We really balance it out. How old is this equipment? Should we be putting money into it? And when push comes to shove, we need X amount of pieces to operate. And we had a couple of those. So that's really, I think, I don't have a total here, but I mean, we're at 80, 90 of unexpected repairs. You expect your brake jobs, you expect, hydraulic lines, things like that. But we did have a handful of major repairs that we could not plan on. The one sweeper that is 6 years old, we've done about through 3 or 4 separate repairs. We're at about $15,000-$20,000 on that for hydraulic lines, conveyors, just every item on that is a wear and tear item. We hope to, perfect world, you'd swap that piece of equipment out every 3 to 5 years. At year 6 or so, they really start showing their age. And we're on a schedule lately that it's been about, we're swapping out our sweepers about every 10 years through the capital program. Again, we did get one in 2020, if I believe. This one is from 2016, and not this year. It's either next year or the year after. Again, at about that 10-year mark, you'll see another one on the capital program request. I think it's 2 years from now. But so yeah, that extends to where we're at. Why we need some additional funding to cover these unforeseen repairs. And we still have, like I said, 3 months or so left of repairs. We're keeping our fingers crossed that nothing major pokes its ugly head, but tires and tubes, you probably said, believe that's broken down somewhere. And again, that's one of our smaller 6-wheel dump trucks. you're looking at anywhere between 1,600, 2,400 for all 6 tires, front end alignment, all that stuff when it goes in. The budget has been necessarily, cut from 5, 6 years prior. Actually, I'd note that a lot of our spending this year, we wouldn't necessarily be here for a supplemental had we been able to sustain our prior, budgeting levels, but it's obviously through the necessity of keeping everything as tight as we can and watching every penny, and through the cuts over the last number of years, we are unfortunately, here for this request, but overall, numbers wise, it's not extremely out of the ordinary for what, we've had in the past.
Okay, quick question for clarification purposes, Ben. So, all right, you've articulated some of the costs for maintenance and operations. You've talked about a little bit about, also added to this requirement is that you started the budget year with a lower level of funding than what you had been operating with in the previous years. Understand that. So on the point about the air filters, so this diesel exhaust fluid, is this a new mandate? Is this what you're doing? The DPW is responding to a mandate of the Clean Air Act or something along those lines for you? Is this something new, and is it related to a mandate from the federal government or the state?
So it is a mandate from the federal government. I'm not sure exactly where it stems from, and they started 6 or 8 years ago. They called them Tier 1 diesel engines, and there was
Yeah.
a program that any new diesel engine built or put into a vehicle equipment went through these tiers, and eventually they had to they're actually at like Tier 5 now, but Tier 1, it maybe burned a little hotter. And then, so it was from the federal government, and the engine manufacturers themselves are just, this is all you can buy. And it comes with this extra fluid you got to put in, and extra filters. So rather than your plain, original diesel engine, just gas and oil, diesel and oil, engine oil. Now there's this exhaust fluid and everything else. And it was a program that did ramp up, and it is federally mandated. I mean,
Okay,
you can't buy a vehicle today that does not have this Tier 4, Tier 5 system in it, unless it's under 35 horsepower or something. So some smaller equipment is still exempt, but any large diesel vehicles, trucks, anything like that, the manufacturers have to produce this, and it's across engine manufacturers, it's across vehicle manufacturers, Peterbilt, International, all Ford, all vendors.
Okay, and so would you categorize this really, it's not a, would you say that it's a preventive maintenance step as a result of the mandate? You know what you have to do, and this is just a limitation in the equipment and the technology that you have to work with in order to meet, while you're striving to meet the standard of this new federal air quality.
Yes, there is additional preventative maintenance and everything that comes with these vehicles versus some of even the older vehicles, yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to open the floor now to, I will follow up with some additional questions, but as we normally do, I'm going to open the floor to the other committee members, and we'll start with Councilor Flaherty and questions or comments.
All right, well, so you have an aging fleet, right? And I'm hearing kind of two things. One is that the equipment repairs, which are, there's two items. There's facilities OSMV repairs, and then there's equipment OSMV repairs. And those are together, those are $130,000. And I'm just, you're crediting the aging fleet that you have to begin with, which is well documented and understood. And then also this problem with some of your newer equipment that is the engine light comes on and then you have all of this difficulty, which, but you have all this difficulty resolving the issue. So what are the biggest, like the in your aging fleet, what are the items that you this year see as the biggest, the most problematic?
So I guess, I mean, unfortunately, and it's frustrating and disappointing that the newer vehicles are having these issues. So that's obviously frustrating. You would think, obviously, new vehicle, less maintenance requirements. And we're, like I said, we're working on a plan to get ahead of these things. So they're at the very least cheaper and they're a little, you know, we can plan for them and not necessarily down the vehicle, et cetera. It's kind of twofold. So the newer stuff is all computers, electronics, sensors. So that gives us issues from time to time, and versus the older stuff, which is a lot more, let's say, physical wear and tear, parts breaking, bodies rotting off, etc.
Yep. And of the older stuff where you have the troubles with the physical wear and tear, which are there particular vehicles that are have given you more trouble than others, or is it just like a little bit here and a little bit there, and they're all old and they're all kind of weighing in with difficulties at the same time?
A little bit here and there. I mean, it's a more frequent, smaller issues, you know, brake shields, you know, rotting off, which is not a safety item, but a maintenance and a, you know, longevity item, things like that. A lot of smaller nuisance repairs, just enough to, you know, down the truck for a day or two, versus a lot of the newer stuff is more expensive, more complicated, and tend to lose the vehicle, you know, to the dealer for a while.
I guess what I'm trying to suss out is if we were to try and help these overages from happening in the future, the newer vehicles, I mean, you have new vehicles and you have to resolve those issues, but the older vehicles, like what would help you then to reduce these problems going forward? Is it replacement vehicles just generally?
Well, yes, yeah, I guess, you know, newer equipment, and as much as the new vehicles have had their issues, and some of them this year were a little, we had a wiring harness in one that rotted away. Poor craftsmanship, bad run, but it was a nose to tail wire harness. It was a big expensive job. We're hoping we don't see those, you know, often. But yeah, overall, you know, general replacement. At one catch basin truck that's off the road due to body rot and wear and tear, and it physically won't hold equipment anymore, hold debris anymore. Staff have put signs in them and done everything they can to extend the life of those. Again, I would hope as well that as the engine manufacturers are always tweaking this product as well, and they're more than aware when they've got, you know, numerous vehicles sitting in their lot waiting for repairs, that they know there's issues with this new generation of engines, and they're working towards resolving those. So you would hope to see a, you know, better situation in the future.
Do you find that where the newer vehicles have a lot of computer and electronic sensors that are sensitive, and when those give you problems, then you have to bring in an expert from that manufacturer or somebody, you know, from the dealership or wherever you buy them? Is that an issue in a way that the older stuff, you know, when you have physical wear and tear and say brake pads need to be replaced, you guys know how to do that on site? Is that factoring in for you?
Yes, there is definitely there are definitely issues with the newer vehicles that have to see the dealer or, you know, a specialist, yes.
Mhm. Is there training or other kinds of sort of educational background that we can look for in future hires that would help us to be able to do that on site? Or is that just the way the world is going with more electronic equipment in all of the vehicles that people buy now?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, yeah, you'd try to get somebody that has a lot more experience in it. Another issue with that is the physical diagnostic equipment as well. That comes at a huge cost, and it has to be updated, refreshed yearly. So there is definitely a trade-off between, you know, out to the dealer for a diagnosis versus trying to purchase and train and keep all those activities in-house. If you have a couple of different brands, different makes in your fleet, then it's two different systems sometimes. You need a diagnosis and a computer setup to diagnose the Peterbilts, and then Ford has their own that's proprietary that you need that setup system as well. So that can get extremely costly.
Have you done, you know, I can appreciate that it can get very costly because I experience the same thing with my own vehicles. But have you guys done a kind of a cost benefit analysis for, you know, the purchase of the diagnostic equipment or the training to keep it in-house versus deciding not to do those things and like sending vehicles out when they need that kind of attention? It seems like it's just going to get to be more and more of an issue.
We have in the past. We haven't done anything real recent with that, but no, we have looked at it in between the training and, you know, the staff that we have here. It's still ahead of the game to kind of go the way we've been going.
Okay. I have a lot of questions about the water heater, but I think that, is there going to be somebody who's going to talk about that? And
Yes, sir.
I don't want to jump ahead.
I've got the vehicles.
That's what I thought.
Okay,
Okay.
Director Arsenal, you recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. So Mike McGurty would be able to answer those types of questions if that would be appropriate. Joe?
Great, you got it. So Councilor Flaherty, are you okay with us just allowing just a line of questioning concerning the vehicles
Oh, yes.
to proceed before
We should finish with the vehicles. Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so Councilor Maglio, the floor is yours for questions or comments.
I actually don't have comments about the vehicles. That made perfect sense and I'm good.
All right, thank you. I just have one follow-up for you, Ben. So, and I perfectly understand, I was going down the same line of reasoning that Councilor Flaherty had taken, and kind of with a view of the new technologies and the new challenges that they're really coming out with newer technologies year by year to try to keep up with it from an in-house personnel perspective is very, very challenging to do. So are there other, one of the things I'm thinking about are the warranties with vehicles. Is there any potential there to negotiate when the new vehicles are bought with anticipation of these newer technologies? All right, let me back up. I should ask, are the current warranties in place that help cover any of those costs?
So there are vehicle warranties. Generally, the longer the warranty, the more expensive the warranty, and at the cost of keeping capital requests as tight as possible, it's usually the standard. Most of them have like a 3-year warranty on them. You can pay additional fees for a 4, a 5, a 6. And that's on the engine. Then you can do the tranny, then you can do so yes, I mean, you can look at purchasing some extended warranties for them. It comes at an upfront cost as opposed to a further down the road cost.
Okay, And I would anticipate that you've probably started to take a look at those types of options as well. And from more or less a cost analysis, is it worth our while to do it?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, it's, you know, we get the quotes and we lay everything out, and then when we work through our capital process, it's a decision that unfortunately has to be made. You know, do you add an extra 10, 15, $20,000 to the upfront capital request? That makes it look less appealing versus hoping you don't have any major issues in year 4, 5, and 6.
Gotcha. Well, I'd be interested at some point to hear any kind of additional thoughts you've had and maybe some trends on what you actually encounter for repair costs after a warranty has expired. And I definitely get your point about the appeal, making the difficulty of a sell to get approval for a capital allocation up front that's going to be more expensive due to you adding on the extended warranties. But the trade-off,
And we get them, we get them when we can, but you know, it's costly.
right? Well, and I'd be interested if there's any kind of data from your perspective, or your trend analysis, to say that, yeah, if we cover these costs and it goes over instead of a 3-year, maybe a 5-year, is there any data that tells you that potentially could save us money? Or is it another kind of a unknown quantity because of the wear and tear on an individual year's basis that has a lot of different factors that can add into it being a more difficult wear and tear year versus another year from a vehicle standpoint? Okay, but I'd still think it would be a worthwhile kind of a review for us to maybe have a discussion at a future time, or as we perhaps getting ready for the next budget season. There's some additional perspective you might be able to add. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, was there a comment?
Sounds good. Yeah, no, we'll.
Okay, thank you. All right, that being said, I certainly get that. And just one point of clarification before we move into the facilities areas is that in the DPW full allocation of $464,770, that is all traditional DPW operations and maintenance costs outside of facilities, or is there any facilities related benefits or allocations within this 464 versus the separate school facilities department request of 512,000? Yeah, go right ahead, Director.
So there's facilities and equipment. So the equipment part at the bottom, you'll see the 3 items there with the, it's a commingling a little bit because some of the equipment still used, like you see facilities, tubes and tires, and facilities repairs. So it originally, DPW, that was all kind of in the same different programs, but they all work together. And we still do, but there are now elements of that, like the upper, like the department head and the assistant department head and some of those other items that are more in line with the school's changes that we've had. So it's like a commingling of it. And then the very bottom one, the recycling processing, that is actually from the recycling division. And that's with Jeff Kuntz, who kind of manages that. And so those costs are, I'll let you know that those costs are typically, we have recycling programs, and this recycling program sometimes is favorable to the town and sometimes not favorable. And right now it's not favorable. And also we have a lot more requirements regarding materials that are disposed of in the recycling in the processing of it. And also we have mattresses that now have to be treated separately and things like that. So that's where those costs are factored in regarding that particular item.
Okay, I understand. I understand in the world of recycling, yeah, it is a shifting landscape. for global reasons, you know, really outside of just Braintree and our current day-to-day operations. I clearly understand how that gets impacted. And again, the industry, as well as more government regulations on the
Yes.
specific areas of recycling and
Yeah.
waste disposal. Okay. And then, of course, you know, my understanding too, from the maintenance's breadth of responsibility, I should say facilities, breadth of responsibility also includes vehicle management, fleet management, correct?
Yeah. Yes, and
Okay.
right now, Mike's is the manager of it, but you know, we're in the transition because
Mhm.
before Ben was kind of all over that, and now it's being kind of, you know, the duties are being changed a bit, but it's still under DPW, so.
All right, well, thank you. So essentially, this request as described as DPW on
Yeah.
the supplemental request truly
Yeah.
are more traditional DPW and doesn't involve the nature of the mission outside of vehicles management of the facilities team.
Yes, you're right. That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So I'm going to turn it back over to Councilor Flaherty as we start these questions, more specifically to the first line item of the school facilities request.
Okay. So what caught my attention was the supplemental for the school hot water tank. And I remember how in the budget, when we were discussing that, there was, and it gets a little confusing because that was before consolidation had happened. So, you know, maybe that's a factor here, but there was a line that was talking about high school renovations, and there were certain items that were going to be included with high school renovations, and that was furniture and an elevator and the hot water tank, and I think maybe some books. And now we're paying, you know, we have a supplemental for the hot water tank, and it sounds like, because I asked about this through email, and it sounds like there were some delays with the tank, and in the meantime there were so many plumbing repairs that needed to be made that the money for the tank was spent on the plumbing repairs, and now we need to pay for the tank. But I don't think that that's a perfectly crystal clear understanding. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. When we joined forces with the school, we took over their maintenance group, which is a very small group, and they could not handle any of these projects that we're doing now. With the hot water tank, obviously wasn't brought to our attention until we actually got into these buildings and started doing repair work, and then investigated the hot water tank, which we knew was a problem. It was 52 years old. It's the original tanks that were put into the building. 50% of the system was already shut down. It was not operable. And the other 50% was uncontrollable, meaning you could not drain the system. The valves were all rotted and it had to be replaced. We were hoping to replace it earlier in the year, but we had a bunch of other heating issues that we had to jump on. And we, by the time we finally did get to the hot water replacement, the monies that were set aside for that, that was dealt through the school system, not the DPW facilities department. So that money was set aside, whether it was for those projects, we were not involved with it. We did see that when we took over the original budget, there was monies in there for that project. And that's what we had anticipated that we would use. The tanks were in such bad shape that if we didn't move on the project, what we were going to end up with is a failure of the hot water system in the school at some point, whether that was today, tomorrow, or a month ago. There was no question in my mind, with my 50 years experience in construction and being a building inspector and all the things that I've been involved with. I crossed my fingers that we got to the point we did when we finally did make the change. When we did, that money was gone. We had no control over that. That was taken out of the budget that we took over. So we had no access to that account. So I can't tell you where it went or how it was spent. I just know that we had to respond to the situation at hand and upgrade the hot water system that was there. We in our department contacted an engineering firm that we've used in the past. We got a set of plans put together very reasonably. We got an emergency waiver through the state so that we could avoid the bidding process and went out and got comparable bids for the project. That project, we had bids come in that were 3 times the cost of what it cost us to do the work. We did a large portion of the work we did in-house with our own electricians. We wired it. We put the controls in it. We did bring a subcontractor in to do the initial setup because we may have taken it on, but we had so many things going on that I could not afford to put our staff on that one project. So the total project came in under $100,000, and which is a phenomenal price when you see that with the prices that we had, $250,000 that did not include electrical. So those prices were well above $300,000 to do this work. So we did a phenomenal job getting that done. We have a state-of-the-art heating system that meets the demands of the school today, which is a good thing. But back to your question, we had no control of where that money went, the original monies that were asked for. We did see it. We never had access to it. And when we took over the budget completely, it was gone. It was shifted and moved to other locations, and that's all I can tell you.
Okay, so I certainly have no question at all that that water tank needed to be replaced. I mean, it looked like it was hosting a colony of cordyceps. It was going to take over the human race and leave us in an apocalyptic disaster. But so I'm glad that it's been replaced. I didn't realize that the work was already done, because the picture that was sent to me was a picture of the old tank. And so I'm glad to know that that's done, and that what you have in place now is adequate for the needs of the school. That's good. But to have it done for $100,000 also, that's very, very good. But I mean, the question of where the money went that we allocated for it, that I need to have answered. And if you don't know the answer, Ed, do you know who does?
Through the chair,
Right ahead.
I believe I had sent an email over to Sue with answers to a couple of the follow-up supplemental questions. And one had to do with it was $215,000 allocated for the school
Yeah.
department for the high
Mhm.
school. And the superintendent basically explained what what he had used those funds for. And included in that was the water tank. So I think I can send another copy to you if you didn't receive that. I think there were 3 questions in your follow-up list.
Yeah, so it says, I have that, I got your answers, and
Okay.
utilizing money from this line item as well as money from quote plumbing, replacement of water heater at BHS with a smaller, more efficient unit or units. Work will be bid once all funding sources are confirmed. Contractor to assist in identifying the appropriate unit and installation. To date, the money spent included $80,000 for the elevator repair, $110,000 for media center update. At the end of the year, the plan for replacement of the water heater had not yet materialized, and monies for plumbing repairs across the district had exhausted that line. So what you're telling me is that by the time you guys got the budget, the money had already been spent on plumbing repairs across the district. That's what it is?
Through the chair, just
Yes.
on 324, I think this was a second round of questions you had submitted to us.
Mm-hmm.
The first question was 215,000 for the high school renovations.
Yep.
You asked about it, and basically the superintendent had responded. They were spending the funds, renovated and improved media center to make it more functional, repair the elevator for the kitchen to the cafeteria area.
Yep.
And then also replace the heating system.
Hmm.
So that was specifically, that's what the school had used those funds for. I-
Well, okay, it sounds like plumbing repairs for the district. The money from the money that was allocated for the hot water tank was used for other plumbing repairs. And I was trying to understand what those plumbing repairs were, whether they were just kind of minor repairs everywhere, or if there was a big plumbing repair that was done. And it goes to, what to expect in the coming year. Are these plumbing repairs significant enough that we can expect to have lower plumbing costs in the coming year? Or is it just part of, or is it just still going to be a whole bunch of small costs associated with very old buildings that cumulatively are enormous?
Jim?
So yes, Director Arsenal, please.
So within the school department, it's the way funding is brought into the program is very different than on the town side. So on the school side, there's much more flexibility with use of funds. In the town side, all the funds are exacting to where they have to be. So there's not really a lot of flexibility in that. And so and in the future, anything that comes up, you'll definitely know where the money's been spent, why it's been spent, and what the process is. So there's no question in the future that won't happen in the DPW. So that's all I want to say.
Okay. I'm going to set that aside. I did want to ask a little bit, and if other people have questions about the tank before I move on, then it would be very sensible to do that now.
Okay, let me ask if Councilor Maglio.
I do have a quick question just about clarity, because I too was sort of tripped up from the answers that we got, which are in red to these questions, indicate that the heater will be done. The water heater will be replaced. But what we're hearing is that it was replaced.
Yeah.
And I'm still unclear, because this is March 24th that this is dated. So did that happen in the last 6 days?
Through the chair, no, that did not. We had to respond to an emergency after the new year was up. Now, is going back to the $215,000. This facilities department did not get one nickel from that amount of money. All the plumbing repairs we did came out of the budget that we adopted from the school department, plus the budget that we had for the facilities town side. So we didn't take any of that money and spend it on any of those plumbing issues. They may have been used to pay down older bills that hadn't been paid before we became involved. But we had no access to that account or that money. I want to make that clear. That's why our budget is so off kilter. We had no choice but to move forward with that hot water heating system. It was actually leaking while we were working on it. It would have closed the school. I had no choice but to step up and move it forward. We were in a dire need to address it. And if we waited any longer, we would have had a closed school. The high school would have closed because we would not have been able to give them domestic water, which is required through the Board of Health, if that answers that question.
Well, it certainly speaks to how important it was to get it done. What I'm just unclear about, and I guess it doesn't really have to do with facilities. It just has to do with the water heater. Who gave us these answers to these questions?
I believe it was Director Spellman who consolidated those answers from the others. Director
Okay,
Spellman,
so you're on mute.
you're on mute, Ed.
Sorry, forgive me. The first question dealing with the allocation of the 215,000. I got this response from the superintendent.
Okay. So does the superintendent know that this was replaced in January? Because it's still, it's still being referred to as it will be done.
He knows it's been completed. I informed him of that.
Work will be bid once all funding sources are confirmed, contractor to assist in identifying the appropriate unit and installation. So it's still being referred to as in the future.
I don't know, but
Doesn't make-
is that the verbiage they used when they applied for the?
Yes.
That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like that's what they submitted when they applied for the 215,000, that they were going to put it to all these items and that they would do the hot water heater when the appropriate contractor was selected and so forth. So that sounds like an old note as to why they asked for that money, not to take out of context your question.
Yeah, well, it's just that the question was, you know, have we addressed the water heater? And is the tank that we're replacing now a separate issue? And the answer is, we're going to get to that water heater. If I can kind of break it down into kind of basic form. So that just the tense and the timing seems off. And maybe it was just a quick copy paste to explain it initially, but it should kind of be corrected, I think, just because it's indicating in one sense that we're going to use this money to do this, but yet we know you used separate money and it's already done. You meaning facilities.
Yes, I think that's where the confusion comes from.
I can ask the superintendent for clarification on that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's it on the topic, Councilor Maglio.
Um,
On that
for the
topic,
water heater, yes.
great. And I just wanted to add one more thing, and it's actually add what you had just stated. So I think it's important. I know it's water under the bridge as far as that 215,000 being reallocated for other purposes, and then specifically by the school management team prior to the consolidation of the facilities team. I think it's important for us to get an accounting for where that money, specifically the job orders, to understand the other repairs, plumbing repairs. I don't think there's any malfeasance going on here. I just want to be clear about that. But I think from lessons learned and a more accountable, more accountability in how money has been spent. Previously, there's $215,000 to, I want to know, someone had mentioned, were they outstanding bills that they decided to take that money and pay outstanding bills? Were they actual occurrences that happened unanticipated while they were in possession of that 215,000 that they decided to allocate toward the unanticipated repair costs? I think that's important for us all to know from a transparency standpoint. I'm going to be honest, it troubles me. It troubles me that the town goes through the process and a vote of the council to allocate monies for specific tasks, only to find out that money is used somewhere else. And there's no accounting for it, or that's just a verbal, oh, well, something happened here. I think we'd all be a bit more comfortable knowing exactly what happened here with that money, okay?
I will follow up with the question, his response, and just ask for further clarification as to what the funds were spent on, and just confirm they were spent at the high school. I think that was the overall motion. And it said the intent was to do some renovation, some the elevator, and then also the water heater. So I will get
I'm
clarification and Try to get that to you in the next day. or
Right,
so.
and I think it has to be tied specifically. I'd like to know, I want to see job orders, that kind of stuff, because, you know, there are rules when money is allocated. I understand that in the municipal world, money is allocated into specific cost centers or line items of a particular budget. And it takes a vote of the council in numerous cases for that money to be reallocated. And that's what I just, go ahead.
No, I understood. And again, I think the article was written broadly enough to talk about repairs and modifications at the Braintree High School, including, I think there was media center work. There was elevator repairs and the plumbing and the water heater.
And, okay, and that was, so that request that you refer to there for this money, I'm assuming that was a request, as the motion, as you stated, was submitted and voted on prior to the consolidation.
Correct. I believe it was a 22 capital article, which would have been voted about this time last year, prior to the consolidation and
The actual consolidation occurred, so it was voted on, the consolidation was voted on in 21 by the previous council approved the consolidation of the two facilities teams. It was not this council that voted on it.
they approved the concept. I don't think the funding was actually approved to this fiscal year, which was July 1, 22, in the fiscal 23 budget that you voted last June.
Right, and I understand that. But again, it's an important note that that money was, excuse me, that money was allocated previously. And that consolidation was an official happening, or that it was going to be consummated, if you will, a final official stamp of approval, but the concept was already approved.
Correct.
Right, and that's my point, is that I have some concerns. I just want to be able to see. I want to see how this with real job orders, and I'm gonna go back and I'll read that verbiage in that. What was the date again? You said, Ed?
I believe it was last year's capital plan. I can get the date for you and get you the article.
I can pull it out. I have those records. So I'm gonna look at the 2022 capital plan. That was, I believe, around this time last year.
Yes, it was 215,000, and I think the category was high school renovations.
Okay, thank you. That's all I've got. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to turn it back to Councilor Flaherty. Any other questions that you have concerning the facilities line item?
We were talking there, the first four items are all related to salary. And there's a department head, an assistant department head, and labor custodian, and casual employee. And these are increases that happened as a consequence of the merging of the two sides, the town side and the school side. Okay, and when we say casual employee, $50,000, that means that it went to a group of casual employees, not just one person that we hired, or, I'm trying to understand that.
So,
Go
Chairman,
ahead, Council Director.
So what happens is the casual employees is funding that's available, and we get staffing in who are temporary in nature. And so they help us out for a limited duration of time, or but they're not officially an actual employee of the town, a formal employee of the town.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, if I could just add to that question, Counselor, if I may.
Yeah.
Is this part of the limited hours as well, these employees can work? Or are these full-time folks that don't have a limited hours?
It's a combination of both. Sometimes they do work limited hours, sometimes they work full-time, but they are under like a contract and they don't really, they don't have the benefits and the rights of a regular employee.
Thank you. That's all I need. Thank you, Council Flaherty. Thank you for indulging me.
Sure. Okay, so the casual employee increase is because the rates went up after the merger? Or
I
is
think
that because we hired more casual employees than we anticipated?
Mr. McGurty.
through the chair, thank you. We took on more work with the same amount of people. So our casuals, we brought on an extra casual because we were short staffed. So there's been a change, and it's multiple individuals. Normally they have a contract for 90 days. We renew it every 90 days. For the most part, they work 20 hours, some work a little bit more. They kind of help us balance out where we're short staffed. We have some craftsmen that have, retired from other trades that come to work for 20 hours a week, and they do a phenomenal job for us. For one instance, we have a gentleman who does a craftsman, a Braintree resident who's retired, and he does door repair, which is a big help for us at the schools, 20 hours a week. So it's quite helpful, saves us a little money, and that's why we had the increase that we had.
All right, I understand. And then the laborer, custodians, is that the same story? Is that a different story?
The labor custodian,
It's $68,000.
yes, that's exactly what we had to do. We didn't have money to put on a full-time individual. So we're supplementing some of our shortfalls with some casual staff.
Okay, so the breadth of the work that you're talking about, which is greater, you took on more work with the same number of people, that has to do with, fairly terrible condition of our school buildings.
That's correct.
Okay. Those are the questions I had about that. Did I have other questions about schools? Let me see. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask. There is a line about school security alarms. And we passed the debt exclusion where we collect money in order to increase school security. And my question was, why are we using general fund monies for this purpose instead of debt exclusion funding that we voted on to increase school security? We voted to increase school security, but we didn't specify precisely how and in what way we were going to increase the security of our schools. So I'm asking why we're using this money for school security items instead of the debt exclusion money. The answer that I got on email was you weren't sure how that would work. And perhaps it can't work. I just need to know why.
Mike, were these funds to repair existing security items that had fallen into disrepair, or?
Well, what it says is school security alarms, $30,000.
Correct. We have an alarm account for that, and it is in a number of the schools, it's antiquated, and we've got to upgrade it. We're doing a lot of the in-house work ourselves, rewiring. To go to electronic would be to scrap the whole system, and we wouldn't be looking at $30,000. We'd be looking at $300,000 if we were going to upgrade our schools. This is to maintain the existing systems we have, and for the most of that work is in-house. It's just the control panels and the associated equipment is expensive. So we're hoping to maintain our systems as they are and be able to do them in-house. And that's the reason we have the increase on the security there.
So Ed, is the difference that they can't do to use debt exclusion funding? We'd have to be paying for new systems rather than maintaining the ones we currently have?
I believe that this account, and this was just to do maintenance on the existing system. I believe the school is looking at a comprehensive district-wide security upgrade, and the allocation of those debt exclusion funds would be used for that comprehensive plan. Did that answer the question, or?
I mean, it's only $30,000. $30,000 is almost, just a drop in the bucket as far as our budget is construed broadly, but I just, is it just we're not allowed to use the debt exclusion funds for this?
Let me follow up with the superintendent and ask a specific question about this. Because again, I believe they had gone out to bid and there's a plan to do an upgrade system-wide to improve the overall security for the district. And this would be over and above what Mike and his people are doing as kind of repairs
Mhm.
to the existing system. And
Yeah.
Again, I will get the actual vote of the wording of the debt exclusion, but I thought the schools were looking at an upgrade and not really maintenance of the existing system. But I will follow up with him and get a clarification from him on that and ask if the 30,000 could be spent from that account.
I do believe that the 30,000 does include the fire alarm systems. It's all part of the security system in the schools. It's not just like a burglar alarm or, door alarms and so forth. It has to do with maintaining even the fire alarms. And we're dealing with a number of schools where the fire alarm panels need to be upgraded. And just upgrading one or two of those panels, you're looking at $5,000 to $7,000 just for the equipment. So the 30,000 was dedicated for the maintenance of the existing system. I know that the school has a security fund and they have, I believe, about $700,000 in it. And they're looking at a wider package throughout the town for the schools. They've asked us to look into some entrance security issues with some of the doors and things like that. And they're looking to put a package together to upgrade their security throughout the schools. That's separate from this. This is basically repair and maintenance of existing.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Just as a note on that point about the debt exclusion, before I move on to Councilor Maglio for her questions. So I know in discussion with the council president that there is discussions going on between herself and the superintendent, who is going to come before the council to provide us an overview and a status update on the school security upgrade program. That is the to date, what has been done, what are the milestones of the debt exclusion, $1 million. And I believe there was an additional $400,000 in grants the town had received. Ed, was that true in the last year?
I don't have that off the top of my head. I can look into it and get back to you though.
Great. So, all right, I just want to be aware, let everyone be aware that that is on the table. I think particularly in light of some of the national news that we have seen and the horrible trends of school security breakdowns. It's something that our town needs to hear about, like now, since we've had that money for quite a while. All right. That being said, I'm turning it back over to the committee members and Councilor Maglio. Questions or comments?
I have a couple. Actually, I'm going to comment on what you just said, Joe, and that is that part of having safe schools and a safe school environment is having the kind of mental health supports, emotional supports, and all of that kind of those kinds of positions restaffed in our schools. It's not just the hard security, it's also the services that we're providing our kids. So I just wanted to add that little comment on. So what I'm really confused about, and I don't know that there's an answer, I think it's more just an observation or a comment. So the merger did happen. All of the meetings took place before I joined the council. I watched the I watched it on BCAM and I asked some questions and it was all pitched as there's going to be more, more and better repairs, and we're going to take care of all the issues in the schools, and we're going to save money, and this is going to be an amazing event. That's kind of how it was sold, at least to the public, and I was a member of the public at the time. And then came all of these other issues, which really shouldn't have been a surprise, that there was a gap in pay equity between what they're being paid and what they're being paid. And now the facilities department is responsible now for addressing all of these neglected buildings and all of these tasks that were never done, and having to hire more people and having to ask for money in the budget. And as we can see, there's even indications where not enough money was asked for. And so some of this is unexpected as to what's needed. But that's going to continue to happen as long as we put together budgets that don't actually meet the needs of what people need to do the work that they're supposed to do, and keep their people paid and keep meeting their outcomes and meeting their goals. I mean, we can pretend in May when we approve a budget that it's going to be enough. And then, oh, what do you know? Another supplemental budget request comes along. I mean, it's kind of unrealistic that we are, it's one thing to say, here's what it's going to cost, and we can't afford it. So we're going to see if we can later in the year and put through a supplemental budget. It's really a different phenomenon to say, yep, we can do all these things, even though we can't. And then to ask for more money. I think it's needed, and I understand it. And it's really just because so much of this is undersold, and the constraints that people are up against when putting budgets together, that even though you need $50,000 worth of repairs to a vehicle, you're only allowed to ask for $20,000. And that's a problem.
Through the chair.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. I understand the budget. We adopted it. We had no input, which at the time would have made sense. Well, once we were given it and we got in and we looked at what we were doing, we've done some phenomenal work, by the way. We've changed and fixed hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of items that have been left alone. We've repiped main steam pipes underground at the Highlands School, the Hollis School. We redid the main steam line while the school was open in the winter, which is unheard of. They thought they were going to have to close it. We were able to get in there and do these projects, and they're big. We will put a presentation together for the full board as to what we've been able to do. We have, in this group, small group as we are, have kept these buildings open, and that in itself is a phenomenal job. So we've gone at it. We're now getting an understanding of where our budget is and how we're getting there, because it was never looked at before. Let's be real. Nobody ever opened this up and looked inside. Janitorial custodial supplies, the budget had it at about 50%. So we're way over, but we're inventorying it. We know where it all goes now. We know that it was underfunded. Why? I can't tell you why it was underfunded. I know that your next budget that you'll be receiving will incorporate all these items that we're missing. It's $100,000 in services that we have to use just to keep our schools operational. If we never showed up tomorrow, you'd have to write a check for $100,000 for your elevator, your alarms, your pest control. These things are big numbers. So their $300,000 that their budget that we adopted did not take out the $100,000 just for services. So now we're left with $200,000 to do $500,000 worth of repairs. And we have been able to do most of that, and it's difficult. So we've been going at it as hard as you possibly can. And we've been on top of this. So yeah, I agree. I understand where you're coming from. But as we go forward, now our eyes are open. The books are open. We can see what we really need to do operational budgeting. We have a gentleman in our office who does most of the DPW budgeting, Rob DeVito, and we've been pulling this apart, and we're still finding things that we hadn't seen before. So we are making progress. It will be better.
And I appreciate that, and I know how hard you're working, and my comments are in no way to undercut anything that you've been doing. It's more of an observation of any department giving us numbers that will work and that we vote on when it's really not the cost of what it's really going to take. And I think for me, as someone new to the municipal budgeting process, that becomes, it takes far more time to go through it. It raises other kinds of work for people to do, to have to justify this thing that they need to do, when really, if it had just all gone in advance and we just had full disclosure around what it really costs to keep all of our systems running and all of our people paid and everyone getting health insurance and all the lights being turned on and all of those things, I think that would help us, because then that's how we can also develop some priorities as a town. How can we just, I guess this isn't a question, and I'm sorry to be taking up time, but my last thing is just, if we're just cutting everything across the board, and across the board, that's not enough money for people to do what they need to do, then we're just fooling ourselves. And it would just be much easier, I would imagine, for people to ask for the amount that they need, and we do our best to get it. And then people get to not have to do this again for another year, unless like a real emergency comes up. Not that people are making up emergencies. I don't mean that at all, but a lot of this wasn't that unexpected, that 30-year-old vehicles are going to have are going to need a repair, or some of this other stuff. So I would just say back to you, Joe, that Chairman Reynolds, that part of a message we send out is tell us what it really costs.
Great. I would, yes, go right ahead. Ed.
Just a point of clarification, these programs were within the school budget 2 years ago, and they have the flexibility to move funds from other lines into these lines to cover shortfalls. And the funding and the budget restrictions for all of the other departments and for Mike and his team. That's why they've got specific line items and programmatic restrictions on transfers of funds and things. Mike and his people have done a great job and brought a lot of the work in-house, and his people, his craftsmen, are able to do the work instead of going out and hiring a private independent contractor. The salaries and the payroll of the contracts are multiple times of what our guys are being paid to do the work and to get the job done. They were given a budget that had been more or less level funded from the prior year. We're given it, and now basically they're going in and looking at the whole system. They basically took on, what was it, 11 additional buildings. Is it over 1 million square feet? You added to your budget, and you're just working through the systems right now, is my understanding.
If I may,
Right ahead.
this is not about Mike and his team. This is not specific, which is why I said at the beginning, this is a general comment, that we're getting budgets that aren't going to cover what needs to be done, but people are being forced into making it work, making it fit to what the town can project for revenue. By not knowing what those real numbers are to do the job, I think that we are doing a disservice to the public, to the people that do the work, to the people, the volunteers like us who are sitting here going through all of this information, because what we're doing and what we're about to start doing for next year is to come up with, is to start talking about budgets. What do people need for FY24? Not what will you squeeze out for the amount of funds we're able to find for you, but like, what do you really need to do the work that your department is responsible for doing? And whether we can fund it or not is not the question. The question is, what do you need to get it done? And then it becomes, okay, there's some priorities that we need to set. There is some difficult decisions that need to be made. That's all I'm saying. This has nothing to do with the quality or the ability of Mike and his team. This is about all of us, everyone in the town.
No, understood. I was just trying to clarify that the budget Mike and his team are working from is not Mike's budget. This was a budget that he
Got it.
inherited
Yep.
from the school. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
So thank you for that. And I appreciate the questions, the comments, the responses, all of those. And just to follow up a little bit on the point from Council Maglio is that, yes, I agree with the premise absolutely of your concerns, and that a new approach, or at least a modified approach to how we're budgeting as a community needs to be a bit more, it absolutely needs to be more realistic and reflective of the limited revenues the town has and the increasing costs that the town incurs and the amount of services allowable to be paid for in an upcoming budget. So to the point about, you have really X amount of needs across the board by department. And there is a full accounting of what all those needs are. However, we all understand that we don't have the money to address all of the needs in an individual budget. So I would recommend that would be very, very helpful to the executive branch of our town when they submit the next budget, is that there is an accounting exactly like that, that we know what the costs, we know what all of our concerns are and all of our needs are. And the prioritization would be a plan of the attack. That would be the first step. What's the priority of it? To hear a plan of not just, well, here's your budget and we'll hope for the best and we'll get back to you. And it's not reflective upon you, Ed, at all. You know what you have to do and you do it extremely well, extremely well. But we need a more articulated, clear-cut plan of what all our needs are and how we're addressing them and what's the game plan to address them. And there could be a number of different solutions to addressing them, to even include, which I would not hope for, cuts. So it's just, we're all in the same sheet of music. We're rowing the same way, as the old adage says, but we're not surprised like we are. My own experiences is my second time around sitting on this side of the fence here of listening to supplemental requests and to listen to capital needs and budgetary needs, operating budgetary needs. I think that would be very helpful to us all, and give the council a greater level of confidence that they are indeed voting for allocation in budgets that are realistic and address the outside questions of what not being addressed so that we don't have surprises. So thank you. That's my little commentary on that. I don't have any further questions as they pertain to what is being asked for in this budget, in this supplemental budget for the public works. I think that the conversation today was very illuminating. It helped me either one, confirm some assumptions and assessments prior to the meeting, but also it added additional information of context and perspective that gives me a greater appreciation for how this process is working. And to talk about Mr. McGurty's comment about, we'll tell you exactly what we need, like $100,000 annually to run the school facilities budget in order to run the schools on an annual basis. That's outside of repairs and special projects, the toilet paper, you know, the filters for this system or that system, et cetera. The maintenance inspections, et cetera. That is a great understanding, and it's a stake in the ground. And I'd like to think that, you know, your new accounting systems, I know you have a couple of systems there. I think it's facilities dude or school dude is one, you know, from a work allocation perspective and approval of invoices, et cetera, that integrates and talks to with your Munis system. The more and more Munis becomes mature in our town, the better a tool it becomes for specifically these types of conversations and plannings. So I'm optimistic that we absolutely can do this. We absolutely can do this, but it's going to take a better level of communication, from my opinion, from the executive branch of here it is, lay it out on the table. The executive branch is responsible for prioritizing, but there's a greater level of confidence and partnership with the council when we know all the rest of the information of the environment that we're all operating in. So is there any additional commentary or questions from the council, from the committee members? Great. Is there any additional questions or commentary from any of the guests from the town? Okay. I want to thank everybody for your time today. So just an administrative question for Clerk Semino. So I do believe we've covered all of the items in these 3 supplemental meetings, Ways and Means meetings addressing the supplemental budget request. Would you
Correct.
agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, go right ahead.
So before I do that, I wanted to ask Clerk Semino, I have a revised request. The number 2, the second motion, number 2 part of the motion for
Yes.
the Public Works Department. I have that revised. And then beneath the motion itself, there's a chart that says the portion, you know, where each of those, it's a kind of a chart showing where each amount of money is going to come from.
Right.
I don't need to read the chart though. I just
No,
need to,
you do not.
got it.
Thank you.
That's good because I only have the one chart. And you don't need me to read the chart at the end, right?
Correct. You do not need to read that.
And I
That's right.
just want,
All
if I,
done.
all right, and if I could just make sure, because we don't want to waste your time, Councilor Flaherty, and your voice, we have the right, we have the right motion, the corrected one. Great.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, thank you.
Okay, so for favorable recommendation to the full council, I'd like to make a motion for oh, I've lost the number again.
Page 3.
23012.
I'd like to make a favorable motion for 23012. That the sum of $119,313.30 be transferred from Finance Administration Program 019C Reserve Account. $5,000 be transferred from Human Resources / Veterans Benefit Program 06 Veterans Benefit Account. And $387,686.70 be transferred from fiscal year 2022 certified free cash for a total of $512 to the following accounts. $50,000 be transferred to DPW School Facilities Program 07 Custodial Supplies Account. $150,000 be transferred to DPW School Facilities Program 07 School Building Repairs Account. $40,000 be transferred to DPW / School Facilities Program 07 School Asbestos Management Account. $10,000 be transferred to DPW School Facilities Program 07 Electric Supplies Account. $9,000 be transferred to DPW School Facilities Program 07 School Time Clock. PA system account. $30,000 be transferred to DPW School Facilities Program 07 School Plumbing Supplies account. $90,000 be transferred to DPW School Facilities Program 07 School Heat Ventilation Supplies account. $30,000 be transferred to DPW/School Facilities Program 07 School Security Alarms account. $30,000 be transferred to DPW/School Facilities Program 07 School Fire.
Counselor Flaherty,
Yes.
$3,000.
sorry. it was only 3,000 for that one. I think
Did I
you
read?
read the one above it.
It's $30,000 be transferred to DPW School Facilities Program 07 School Security Alarms account. $3,000
Thank you.
be transferred to DPW School Facilities Program 07 School Fire Extinguishers account. $100,000 be transferred to DPW/School Facilities Program 07 Plumbing Hot Water System account. Number 2, Public Works Department.
Nope, I'm
Oh.
sorry. We need to vote each one individually.
Oh, so
Second.
moved.
Thank you.
And we have the motion, we have the second, please, a roll call, please.
Counselor Reynolds,
Aye,
Counselor Flaherty,
Aye.
Counselor Maglio,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
okay. Counselor Flaherty,
I'd like to make a motion for favorable recommendation to the full council for the Public Works Department. Motion that the sum of $226,071.30 be transferred from fiscal year 2023 County ARPA Revenue Loss Fund. $12,284.70 be transferred from Finance/Administration Program 019C Reserve Account. $75,000 be transferred from Library/Current Topics Program 05 Librarians Account. $3,000 be transferred from Planning and Development/Administration Program 01 Internships Account. $6,000 be transferred from Planning and Development/Administration Program 01 Administration Expense Account. $41,000 be transferred from Planning and Development/Zoning Board of Appeals Program 06 Administration Account. $250 be transferred from Planning and Development/Planning Board Program 04 Eyeglasses Account. $200 be transferred from Planning and Development Planning Board Program 04 Clothing Account. $10,000 be transferred from Planning and Development/Economic Development Program 07 Consultant Account. $1,000 be transferred from Planning and Development Economic Development Program 07 Legal Ads Account. $1,952 be transferred from Planning and Development/Economic Development Program 07 Dues and Membership Account. $75,000 be transferred from Human Resources/Veterans Benefit Program 06 Veterans Benefits Account, and $13,012 of fiscal year 2022 certified free cash for a total of $464,770 to be transferred to the following accounts. $15,986 be transferred to DPW/Facilities Program 02 Department Head Account. $15,784 be transferred to DPW Facilities Program 02 Assistant Department Head Account. $68,000 be transferred to DPW Facilities Program 02 Laborer Custodian Account. $50,000 be transferred to DPW Facilities Program 02 Casual Employee Account. $30,000 be transferred to DPW/Facilities Program 02 Overtime Account. $20,000 be transferred to DPW Facilities Program 02 Lighting Account. $21,000 be transferred to DPW Facilities Program 02 Water Sewer Account. $80,000 be transferred to DPW Facilities Program 02 Outside Motor Vehicle Repairs Account. $4,000 be transferred to DPW Facilities Program 02 Tires Tubes Account. $50,000 be transferred to DPW Equipment Maintenance Program 03 Outside Motor Vehicle Repairs Account. $20,000 be transferred to DPW Equipment Maintenance Program 03 Equipment Maintenance Account. $15,000 be transferred to DPW Equipment Maintenance Program 03 Tire Tube Account. $75,000 be transferred to DPW Environmental Affairs Program 12 Recycling Processing Account. So moved.
okay,
Second.
thank you. We have the motion, we have it seconded, roll call, please.
Counselor Reynolds,
Aye,
Counselor Flaherty,
Aye.
Counselor Maglio,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
okay, Counselor Flaherty,
All right, I'd like to make a favorable, a motion for a favorable recommendation for number 3, fire department. Motion that the sum of $208,584 be transferred from fiscal year 2023 county ARPA revenue loss fund. $48 be transferred from planning and development economic development program 07 dues and memberships account. $45,000 be transferred from DPW engineering program 04 department head account. $6,000 DPW engineering program 04 engineering intern account. $2,000 be transferred DPW cemetery program 13 part-time employee account. $30,000 be transferred from DPW recreation and community events program 15 department head account. $200 be transferred from DPW recreation and community events program 15 meeting and seminars account. $530 be transferred from DPW recreation and community events program 15 dues and memberships account. $35,000 be transferred from DPW summer program 20 summer part-time account. $91,933 be transferred from finance principal on debt program 50 principal on debt account. $15,566 be transferred from finance interest on debt program 51 interest on debt account. $14,949 from finance and assessors program 07 department head account, for a total of $449,810 to be transferred to the following accounts. $250,000 to be transferred to the fire suppression program 04 overtime account. $9,695 to be transferred to the fire administration program 01 telephone account. $12,328 be transferred to fire building maintenance program 02 lighting account. $7,728 be transferred to fire building maintenance program 02 natural gas account. $27,490 be transferred to fire building maintenance program 02 custodial supplies account. $5,353 be transferred to fire building maintenance program 02 water sewer account. $3,123 be transferred to fire equipment maintenance program 03 equipment maintenance account. $10,346 be transferred to fire equipment maintenance program 03 gas account. $29,018 be transferred to fire equipment maintenance program 03 diesel account. $5,702 be transferred to fire suppression account program 04 deskman account. $32,393 be transferred to fire suppression program 04 out of grade account. $48,047 be transferred to fire suppression 04 replacement equipment account. $8,587 be transferred to fireboat program 09 boat maintenance account. So moved.
Second,
All right, roll call, please.
Counselor Reynolds,
Aye.
Counselor Flaherty,
Aye.
Counselor Maglio,
aye,
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
All right, motion for favorable recommendation for number 4, police department. Motion that the sum of $3,001 be transferred from the Waterways Improvement Fund, $63,389 be transferred from Blue Hills Regional School Assessment Account, and $19,611 be transferred from fiscal year 2022 certified free cash, for a total of $86,001 to the following accounts. $3,465 be transferred to police building maintenance program 02 natural gas account. $1,000 be transferred to police building maintenance program 02 water sewer account. $16,730 be transferred to police building maintenance program 02 equipment maintenance account. $7,501 be transferred to police building maintenance program 02 building repairs account. $10,678 be transferred to police equipment maintenance program 03 outside motor vehicles repairs account. $3,197 be transferred to police equipment maintenance program 03 tires tubes account. $40,429 be transferred to police equipment maintenance program 03 gasoline account. $360 be transferred to police harbor master program 09 outside motor vehicle repairs account. $52,000 be transferred to
No.
police.
No,
Is
I
that,
think it's,
that says
I think it's
S2.
just 2,000.
Oh, all
Ed.
right,
That's a dollar sign and then 2,000.
all right.
So-
$2,000 be transferred to police harbor master program 09 gasoline account, and $641 be transferred to Police Harbor Master Program 09 Uniform Allowance Account.
second,
All right, roll call, please.
Counselor Reynolds,
Aye.
Counselor Flaherty,
Aye.
Counselor Maglio,
aye,
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank
Okay,
you.
for favorable recommendation, number 5, Finance Division, motion that the sum of $9,268 be transferred from the sewer fund / principal on debt program 50, principal on debt account. $3,445 be transferred from fiscal year 2022 certified golf retained earnings, and $53,587 be transferred from fiscal year 2022 certified free cash, for a total of $66,300 to the following accounts. $26,000 be transferred to Finance / General Insurance Program 09 General Insurance Account. $7,000 be transferred to Finance / Principal on Debt Program 50 Principal on Debt Account. $587 be transferred to Finance / Interest on Debt Program 51 Interest on Debt Account. $2,451 be transferred, $51 be transferred to Water Fund / Principal on Debt Program 50 Principal on Debt Account. $6,328 be transferred to Water Fund / Interest on Debt Program 51 Interest on Debt Account. $489 be transferred to Sewer Fund / Interest on Debt Program 51 Interest on Debt Account. $2,000 be transferred to Golf Fund / Principal on Debt Program 50 Principal on Debt Account. $1,445 be transferred to Golf Fund / Interest on Debt Program 51 Interest on Debt Account. $10,000 be transferred to Human Resources / Employee Benefits Program 04 Drug Testing Account. $10,000 be transferred to Human Resources Employee Benefits Program 04 Pre-Employment Screening Account. So moved.
second,
Roll call, please, Clerk Semino.
Counselor Reynolds,
Aye.
Counselor Flaherty,
Aye.
Counselor Maglio,
aye,
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
For favorable recommendation, number 6, Elder Affairs Department, motion that the sum of $7,400 be transferred from fiscal year 2022 certified free cash to the following accounts. $1,200 be transferred to Elder Affairs / Administration Program 01 Office Supplies Account. $1,200 be transferred to Elder Affairs / Equipment Maintenance Program 02 Gas Account. $2,000 be transferred to Elder Affairs / Equipment Maintenance Program 02 Outside Motor Vehicles Repairs Account. $1,200 be transferred to Elder Affairs / Building Maintenance Program 03 Building Repairs Account. $1,200 be transferred to Elder Affairs Building Maintenance Program 03 Telephone Account. $600 be transferred to Elder Affairs / Building Maintenance Program 03 Water Sewer Account. So moved.
second,
Roll call, please, Clerk Semino.
Counselor Reynolds,
Aye.
Counselor Flaherty,
Aye.
Counselor Maglio,
aye,
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
For favorable recommendation, number 7, License and Inspections Department, motion that the sum of $800 be transferred from fiscal year 2022 certified free cash to the following accounts. $200 be transferred to License and Inspections / Health Program 02 Mileage Account. $600 be transferred to License and Inspections / Equipment Maintenance Program 03 Motor Vehicle Fuel Account. So moved.
second,
Okay, roll call, please, Clerk Semino.
Counselor Reynolds,
Aye.
Counselor Flaherty,
Aye.
Counselor Maglio,
aye,
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay, so there we have it. We have all 7 components of motion 23012 have been favorably recommended to the full council. I want to thank everyone for your diligence. The committee members, I want to thank those who have provided us not only this afternoon, but this morning and our previous meeting for your responses and effort, and I'm looking forward to this passing at the full council. So with that, is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
second,
Roll call, please, Clerk Semino.
Counselor Reynolds,
Aye.
Counselor Flaherty,
Aye.
Counselor Maglio,
aye.
all in favor to adjourn.
Thank you very much, folks. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Guys, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.